Good morning, everyone, and thanks for attending this webinar, which is the presentation of a master degree program in ICT for Smart Societies. ICT stands for Information and Communication Technologies, and this webinar will present how we address that in our degree program. Just a few words about the organization of this webinar. So I will give a presentation which is supposed to last roughly half an hour. If you have any questions, please post those questions on the chat. I would tend to answer those questions after the end of the presentation, but I may change that depending on whether a specific question requires immediate response. So let me see. Okay, so this is the outline of my presentation. I will say a few words about this degree program because this is a new degree program of the Politecnico. I will give a presentation about what we do, what's the teaching approach in this degree program, focusing especially on what's particularly characterizing of this degree program with respect to other degree programs in ICT, like electronics engineering or computer engineering. I will describe the professional profile that we form in this degree program, and then we'll end with some conclusions. I would like to thank a few people for helping me here. So Professor Marco Mellia is also a professor in one of the ICT for Smart Society courses. And then we have a couple of younger persons, Dena Markudova and Nikhil Jha. They've been my students in ICT for Smart Societies, and now they're PhD students in the Politecnico. So I am serving as the coordinator of the ICT for Smart Society program here. In the next few minutes, I will describe what's the approach of this course. So one thing that is particularly important for ICT for Smart Societies is this is a new degree program. It's been active for only 5 years, and it has been designed in order to be a very innovative degree program of the Politecnico. It is held fully in English, even if it doesn't have the word engineer in the title. It does create engineers in ICT for Smart Society. And when we created this, as I said, we decided to do something very innovative. So how is this done? The overarching theme of ICT for Smart Society is interdisciplinary education. The way this is achieved is, on one hand, we teach students the most important methodologies in information and communication technology, which are mostly related, as I will explain later on, to data handling, data processing, everything related with data. But at the same time, we focus on 5 specific application domains, which are deemed to be very important for the engineer of the future. Which is what makes this very suitable for smart societies, for the societies of the future. And we focus a lot on the integration of the methodologies and the application domains. So the way we implement this is also particularly interesting. To make this really interdisciplinary, we have a combination of professors who are expert in ICT methodologies, as well as specific domain experts. And many of the courses are held jointly by professors in ICT and in application domains, so as to provide a fully interdisciplinary teaching approach, which creates engineers which are very sought in the job market, very ready to take interesting jobs. To witness how successful this project has been, I'd like you to have a look at the stats of the number of students that have been enrolled over the years. We started from roughly 30 students, and we doubled that now, and we have a highly increasing trend of students who find that what we do is particularly interesting and rewarding. So we are very happy that the students are appreciating this. So regarding the methodologies, we essentially cover all the aspects of very complex ICT systems, from the networking aspects, transferring information from one point to another, understanding the information, extracting information from data, storing the information, processing the information, performing software and hardware implementations, providing security, optimizing the algorithms and the processes for ICT systems. And we do that by teaching courses in several areas related to these aspects, such as you can see in the slide, machine learning, communications, big data, IoT, operational research, programming for IoT and mobile, and lastly, security. So all these aspects are particularly important to us, and they create the foundation in the methodology for ICT engineers. At the same time, as I mentioned, we are focusing on particular application areas which are very relevant to the world of today and tomorrow. These are 5 specific application domains, which are transportation systems, which obviously can highly benefit from optimizations due to data processing and big data. We have environment, which we treat by studying geomatics and using geomatics to make study and optimization of the environment. We have buildings, which is where we live, and which can greatly benefit from optimizations due to ICT systems, for example, temperature control, noise, power consumption, and so on. We have energy, and by energy, I mean the distribution of energy, typically, which is highly amenable to optimization for energy saving and green applications. And lastly, we have health, and given that health is all over the newspapers these days, I don't think I can overstate this. Underpinning all of these is technologies for data and big data. So we study all of that during the degree program in order to prepare students to use data processing methods to optimize ICT applications. So what are the elements that are particularly characterizing for ICT for smart societies as compared with other degree programs of the Polytechnic? First and foremost is the interdisciplinary approach. As I said, we combine methodologies and applications, and students see a lot of one and the other during the courses. I would also like to mention that the teaching style, not only for the application-oriented courses, but also for the methodology courses, is pretty much a hands-on style. We have a lot of labs, we have a lot of projects. My course, for example, which is a methodology course, is 30 hours in class and 30 hours of labs. So we do a lot of that, we do a lot of projects. During the second year, we do a team project, which is called the interdisciplinary project, which is a teamwork on an important problem, which is very often defined by a company and of interest to that company for 10 credits, where students can really put their skills at work and really achieve very interesting results, which are very often published in scientific papers. I'd also like to mention that the body of professors who are teaching in ICT for Smart Societies are younger than average for the Politecnico, and they are professors with an excellent scientific track record, which clearly provides benefits in terms of the teaching approach and also the access to materials and knowledge in the research labs, which the students can take advantage of. And all of this makes for a very innovative profile and unique professional profile for ICT for Smart Societies. Now, at this stage, I'd like to say something about the current situation and the plans for next year. So how are we going to keep up with the current medical sanitary situation worldwide and still provide a very high level of teaching experience for the students? I have to say that I asked my colleagues what are their plans, and all of them are fully devoted to making the teaching experience a very fruitful one, even for the next year. They have planned to use a number of tools, including remote teaching, video chat, forums, remote desktops for letting students access the equipment in the labs, so not only virtualizing the labs, but actually accessing the labs via remote desktop, purchasing software licenses so that the students can install the needed software on their computers, sharing code via GitHub, sharing files and data via Dropbox, even shipping hardware tools to the students so that they can work on them at home, and doing field tests outside of the Politecnico where this is possible. So we're fully committed to providing a very nice experience for the students next year. So we have one advantage here with respect to other degree programs, that since we expect to have between 60 and 70 students next year, our classes are not overcrowded, so the relationship between the student and the professors and the professor is a very direct relationship. It is easier to manage the labs, and we can also afford choosing exam modalities that are not too cumbersome. And as a matter of fact, most exams in ICT for Smart Societies are oral exams. So next, I'd like to say a few things about the professional profile that we are creating with this particular degree program. So the ICT for Smart Societies engineer is slightly different from other types of engineer in that he has the tools to understand all aspects of an ICT system, not just focusing on one specific aspect. They are able to design new ICT systems and extract value from ICT systems. At the same time, having studied a few specific applications, the ICT for Smart Societies engineer has the ability to speak with domain experts, understand their necessities, draft specifications for related ICT systems, and design them. But most of all, we teach students the ability to adapt. So I cannot overstate how important this is for ICT, because ICT changes at such a fast pace that what you learn today is not probably what you're going to use tomorrow in your job. So by seeing so many different things, so many different aspects of ICT, the ICT for Smart Societies engineer is really able to adapt and to innovate and design new ICT systems. If you're worried whether you're going to get a job after this degree, you definitely should not. If you look at the stats, there's a large gap between the number of jobs in the ICT domain and the number of ICT engineers, which is much less than the demand of jobs. And this gap has been increasing over and over in the last few years. So stay assured that you're not going to have shortage of jobs here. And by the way, this is also demonstrated by the statistics of students entering the job market. These are collected through Alma Laurea. So the statistics about satisfaction of the students about the degree program say that ICT for Smart Societies laureates express 86% satisfaction as opposed to the average of the Politecnico, which is 45%. So it's almost double the average of the Politecnico. And the time for entering the job market is 1.6 months, as opposed to 5.1 months on average in the Politecnico. And the one that I like the best, the ICT for Smart Societies engineers who got a job and who use in that job the expertise that they got through the degree program, there's as much as 71% with respect to an average of 50% in the Polytechnic. So this shows that the students are really very happy about what they do in this degree program, and that they can use what they learn during their jobs. So next is a few examples of interdisciplinary projects, which give an idea of the type of projects that you might be involved in when you work in a company. Now, because we're running a little bit late with this presentation, I'll go through this rather quickly. So an example of a project that has been done with GTT, the agency in Torino that manages transportation, is a communication system that collects information about failures and informs users. I believe this has been deployed by GTT in their systems. Another one was the design of an emergency department with the objective of minimizing the time that a patient has to wait before being assigned to a suitable department. Another one is measuring the quality of Wi-Fi over a very large area. This was over the area of the Politecnico University, using a smartphone app, collecting statistics about that, and making decisions about that. And last, for an example of a smart home, is a design of a cross-protocol smart home system, which can use devices from different vendors, which have proprietary communication protocols, and this cross-protocol system allows them to communicate between each other. So these are just examples of things that we do during the degree program and that you could do as you get a job in the field of ICT. So this essentially is the conclusion of my presentation. I like to reinforce the notion that the ICT for Smart Society's laureates are very happy about what they have done, not just from my words, but from the words of the students themselves. Many of them actually decide to take a work in research, often pursuing a doctoral degree like Nihil and Dena have done. And so, please evaluate a possible choice of this degree program for your Master of Science degree at the Polytechnic. So I'd like to finish this by thanking Marco, Nihil, and Dena for helping me here for this the question and answer session that we're gonna start very soon. And I will conclude saying that in the second week of June, we're going to have the Ict Days, where every course in ICT, including ICT for Smart Societies, will have a time slot with an ICT chat and related session of question and answers. You get a link here. You will have more information about this in the forthcoming weeks as the organization of this is completed. So without further ado, I'd like to stop talking and let the students do the talking here. So if you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and I and my colleagues will be more than happy to answer this. So, question from computer engineering degree: are there any gaps that should be filled? I believe not. Indeed, a rather large percentage of ICT for Smart Societies students are coming from computer engineering. The experience we have is that they don't have any particular gap that they need to fill. So they should be. Then they should be fine. So how to face the gap between lab and COVID? I think I mentioned that obviously we're designing this, but since we are small classes, it is possible that we are going to have to be able to have some in-presence labs for the students that are able to be to the Politecnico. When this is not possible, which I believe is going to be many times, we're going to use tools to let students access the lab remotely, like remote desktops. In other cases, the labs require only software experience, so the students will work at home under the supervision of the professors. We will provide all the data and software needed. We are in some cases where hardware is going to be used. Some professors have already declared that they would like to ship the hardware where this is possible, like Raspberry boards, for example, to the students, so that they can actually work on the lab and have exactly the same experience as they would have with an in-presence lab. So which programming language do we need? Maybe I like Dena or Nihil to answer that, because they have been students for ICT for Smart Societies. So Nihil, Dena, can you speak? So while I'm waiting that the students unmute their microphones, I'd like to talk about international programs. So yes, we have destinations for Erasmus. We have double degree programs, and you find all that on the educational pages of the Politecnico. We have very recent programs which have just been signed. A new double degree program with the University in Madrid. Double degree with Evercom, which is one of the favorites of the students, a double degree with the University of Limoges in France regarding health, essentially, and a few other Erasmus programs. So yeah, absolutely. This is in line with the offering of all other ICT programs. So I don't see, I cannot hear Dana and Nikhil, so I will answer myself the question on programming language. So yeah. Marco,
saying that probably they don't have the rights to use the mic, but yeah.
Okay, that doesn't matter. I promoted them as speakers actually, so they should be able to. Maybe they haven't unmuted their microphone. So anyway, regarding programming languages, I believe that students with a bachelor degree in ICT should have no trouble. Usually, if you're equipped with knowledge of the C language, you should be fine. Many things are done using Python, which, if you don't know a priori, it's easy to learn. Other languages, like those for IoT systems, they are learned during the degree program. So there's no particular demanding requirement on programming languages. Marco, if you'd like to make any comments on anything that I said.
That's absolutely fine. There was actually Dana saying that Python is the preferred language, but some classes allow you to choose the programming language you like, and that's it. There was also another question about Erasmus program and possible destination. I don't know if you already mentioned some of this.
I said something. So I see that I re-promoted Dana and Nikhil, so they should be able to speak now.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Yep. Okay, you're good now.
Okay, fine.
So there was a question about programming languages, and Dana said it's mostly Python, and anything else you typically learn in the related courses. And yes, the offering for international destinations, both in terms of double degrees and in terms of Erasmus destinations, is in line with the other offerings in the field of ICT.
Yeah, actually, I've been I'm going to Eurocom in a double degree with ICT from Smart Societies. So you can, if you have any specific question about this program, you can refer directly to me. And I mean, it's been a great experience. So yeah, the internalization of the ICT for Smart Societies course is, I think, one of its biggest strengths.
Okay, so there's one more question. Is the software part more detailed than the hardware part? Maybe Dana, you'd like to comment on whether you've done more software or hardware during the program. So that also depends really on the eligible courses that you choose at some point. It's mostly, I would say, it's mostly software. We have a course in electronics, which you can choose. That's not a mandatory course. It's an eligible course. And so if that's your thing, so there are typically many students who take that. There are also other eligible courses which are using hardware, like for embedded systems, for example. So it is possible to give a hardware twist to this course, although mostly I would say it is software, algorithms and software. So yeah, so similar question. The course has electronics related parts, so mostly based on programming. You're not really going to design hardware, if that's what you mean. You're going to use hardware, implement programs for the analysis of ICT systems, or ICT data, for example, using hardware. But we are not an electronics engineering course, so that's not the main focus. So many gaps for those coming from biomedical engineering? Absolutely not. They don't need to take mandatory exams. They don't need to fill any gaps or debits. They're perfectly fine. We have a few of them in the course. What's the main domain of research during PhD programs? Well, I think that Dana and Nikhil are most qualified to answer that, because that's exactly what they're doing. So would you like to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I think ICT for smart societies gives you some sort of broad view over a lot of application domain, and this allows you actually to go into different application domains also in research. So you can go and work from, there are some people in Politecnico that are working on smart grids. There are people that are working on smart mobility. There are people I've moved more on web privacy topic. But I think this lot of application domains that we were talking about earlier reflect also in the research fields.
Yeah, actually, if I may say something also here, it's very related to ICT for Smart Society, the Smart Data at Polito lab, which is a new center where we are not developing new methodologies, but we are applying machine learning and data science methodologies to different fields. Most of the people working in the lab are actually PhD students, and a good fraction of them are coming from the ICT for Smart Society master degree. So if you want, you can check also their website. I just put the link there to get an idea of what kind of projects we are working on also.
So there's one more question. I think this is also very interesting. What's the difference between data science and engineering course? So data science is mostly about data science methods, I would say. So we use, rather than data science, I'd like to say machine learning methods, methods for extracting information from data, and we use them in the context of ICT systems. So that's very important, obviously, because all about ICT is that ICT systems generate a whole lot of data, and that data contains a lot of useful information that can be used to optimize things and so on. So we learn how to do that, but we focus more on the ICT systems rather than on the methods. So we learn the methods, but we don't have much focus on those, as would be the case of the data science and engineering course.
Okay, I think we are almost done. There are some other questions. I already put the link, this afternoon there will be a session just for question and answer, so we'll be more interactive also. So feel free to join. It's at 3:30 if I'm not mistaken.
3:30, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we're going to have another webinar tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. followed by another question and answer session. So if you'd like to have more opportunity to talk with us, the question and answer sessions are much more informal. There's no presentation. It's just like a conversation. So feel free to chime in and ask questions. And if you missed that, as I said, we're going to have the ICT Days in the second week of June, which is another opportunity more specific to each degree course to communicate with the students and the professors. So if there is no other question, because our time slot is over, I'd like to thank all the people for attending this webinar. And as I said, if you'd like to talk more with us, there's going to be more opportunities this afternoon, tomorrow, or the second week of June. I'd like to thank Marco, Nihil, and Dana also for lending me a hand here for this webinar. And I'd like to invite everyone to consider, enrolling in this course as an option for your academic career. And talk to you this afternoon in the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Ok, arrivederci a tutti.